Hello, First Baptist Church family and friends. I wanted to just briefly share with you a recap of the Southern Baptist Convention. Now, that is a mouthful because I want to tell you there was a lot that happened in a 2-day meeting, and I am trying to keep this in 5 minutes or less, which is almost a laughable experience to try to do that. So let me refresh your memory a little bit about what is the Southern Baptist Convention. Our convention is a convention of churches that are defined by a term we utilize, friendly cooperation. And that is defined by an agreement or a set of doctrinal parameters or confession of faith. It's a cooperative effort of churches that are coming together to form a convention. So the term friendly cooperation is meaning that these churches closely identify with the Baptist Faith and Message 2000. It's important to note that each church is autonomous. We do not report to an association or to a state or to a national office. Therefore, whatever happens in Nashville, which is the home office of the Southern Baptist Convention, national worldwide headquarters, whatever happens in Prattville, Alabama, is that we're in cooperation with the Alabama State Convention or at Silver Hill, the Baldwin Baptist Association. We're basically a bottom-up, not a top-down convention. So each church has autonomy. Each church is led by the shepherd, the Lord Jesus Christ, and his word as our standard. So not from any organization or anything that we're affiliated or in cooperation with. In meeting in Indianapolis this last week, we had 2 days of the pastors' conference, Sunday night and Monday. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, we had the actual convening of the Southern Baptist Convention, which is all these messengers, numbering right at 11,000 messengers came representing many Southern Baptist churches to do the business of the cooperative convention of Southern Baptist churches. First and foremost, the high points were missions and evangelism. On Tuesday morning, this was a great emphasis where we were able to participate in a worship service, which was the commissioning of 83 new missionaries to the mission field. Some of these people are going to be serving in the very most dangerous places on our continent. At some point, their faces were blacked out. They were behind a screen. You couldn't even see them on the platform. Their voices were altered through some type of technical system, so there wouldn't even be a voice recognition due to the most remote and dangerous places that they were going. Also, in the North American Mission Report, we understood that the majority of our state conventions happily were able to report an increase in baptism in this past year over the previous years. Let that sink in a moment. Most of our state conventions are reporting additional baptisms, and those numbers are swinging up in an upward trend. So we were very happy to hear about that. It was an election year for a new president of the Southern Baptist Convention. Bart Barber had served the past 2 years, and now it was time for another president as his term had expired. There were 6 candidates in the field for the presidency, and Clint Presley was elected president of the Southern Baptist Convention. That name might sound familiar to you. Currently, Clint serves at Hickory Grove Church in North Carolina, but previously Clint served at Dauphin Way Baptist Church in nearby Mobile. So Clint will begin his term of presidency at the conclusion of the meeting last week. Another topic is what's been referred to as the law amendment. And the reason why it's got its name is the law is actually the last name of the person who brought forth the amendment. His name is Pastor Mike Law out of Virginia, and he proposed an amendment to the Southern Baptist Convention Constitution. That failed to pass. It needed the 2/3 vote to add it to the current Southern Baptist Constitution. And adding that language that Mike Law presented and that messengers did vote for by a 2/3 majority last year would have been to strengthen what was already existing in our Baptist faith and message by adding it to the Constitution. What it's doing is adding that the churches that have ordained female pastors would not remain in friendly cooperation of the Southern Baptist Convention. I think it's worthy to note that in both the 2023 convention and this year in the 2024 convention, messengers voted over 90%, or right at 90%, to discontinue relationships and deem these churches not in friendly cooperation who have ordained females to the gospel of ministry and holding ordained positions. The failure to pass that, a lot of people could be upset about that. They felt like that language was strengthening what was already there. But the Baptist Faith and Message has been very clear on this, that we practice complementarianism and not egalitarianism in relation to the ordination of men and women and in the Baptist Church and in the Baptist Confession of Faith. So the Baptist Faith and Message is clear, and it's an affirmation of the complementarianism, which ensures the fidelity of our convention, entities, boards, and commissions. The churches who have practiced egalitarianism of clergy roles will likely continue to be brought before the convention through the Credentials Committee and brought up for a vote of, are we going to disassociate as they're deemed not in friendly cooperation with the convention standards of the Confession of Faith of the Baptist Faith and Message. That's something to be watchful for in the future. The process is working. As I said, before the law amendment was even brought up last year, there were two churches that we deemed not in friendly cooperation. Before the vote this year, there was another aspect of a church, and it's all in the news, First Baptist Church, Alexandria, Virginia, was deemed not in friendly cooperation due to their egalitarian views of ministry. These things will continue to happen, and we're going to continue to be watchful. But again, every church is autonomous, and so we're sticking with that, and we're realizing that our scriptures do teach complementarianism, and so we're holding that line as well. While resolutions are non-binding to the churches, they do serve as a way to speak so that the Southern Baptist Convention speaks into or speaks to the culture about things that are happening. Resolutions, when they come, they are sometimes quite divisive. And I want you to hear me say again, they are not binding at all. Every year I come back from the Southern Baptist Convention, there's some question about a resolution, and what does that mean to us? Nothing. The resolution is actually an opinion of a group of messengers at a particular time that passed by a margin of 51%. So if you had 100 people in the room, 49 of them may have disagreed, but 51 did agree. And it passed as a resolution, as a statement by the simple majority vote on an issue or topic. One of the resolutions that gained much attention was the resolution concerning the IVF. Southern Baptists did not take a stand against IVF. I think that's been falsely reported in the news. What the resolution stood for was on the ethical reality surrounding IVF technology and the dignity of the human embryo. So in essence, what the resolution was calling for was a pro-life ethic, that the discussion around the ethical treatment of the embryo by indefinite freezing of these embryos or the ultimate destruction of these embryos. The resolution was calling for to be mindful of the pro-life ethic surrounding IVF treatment. I am available to discuss any of this in more depth with you, should you desire to. IVF is a very sensitive topic. In the past, I have counseled couples who are coming to me and saying, look, Pastor, we want to approach this idea and this technology with biblical ethics. We've walked through that. We've talked through that. We've realized that God gives us technology, but we also, as born-again Christ followers, want to do this in a scriptural, ethical manner while retaining our pro-life ethic. So as more and more technology advancements are made, we're always going to be in a world where that's happening, it appears, and we're always bringing that biblical ethic to be reminded, okay, what do we do with the other embryos that are created, as this too is life? So it's not an opposition against IVF. It's called for the ethical treatment of the other human embryos that may or have been created through IVF. I'm happy to discuss this in any way. So we have a new leader of the executive committee, Jeff George, who was formerly president of Gateway Seminary out on our West Coast. And upon his retirement there, the executive committee prayerfully approached him about taking the leadership role of the executive committee. And he has done that. And I heard his report, which was very inspiring to me, about the direction of our executive committee of the Southern Baptist Convention. In his report, he gave his desires and his proposed direction of the executive committee. He stated that he wanted the executive committee to be out of the negative news and out of the way of the mission of the convention, and that it was going to be his goal, his prayerful aim, to lead our executive committee toward a bright future of reaching people for Jesus. We've seen a lot of negative things in the last few years related to the Southern Baptist Convention, and a lot of sexual abuse and a lot of different things that was greatly concerned all of us. But I don't place my faith and trust in Dr. Orge. I place my faith and trust in the Lord Jesus Christ. But I know from his ministry record, so to speak, God has used him in the past and in the previous places of service, and I expect nothing less than what God will use him to do and accomplish much as a leader and director of our executive committee. He's been in this post, I guess, 1 month now, and so it was less than a month before he addressed the Southern Baptist Convention in his new post. So I think given some time and given some measures of being able to implement things God has laid on his heart and provide direction, I look forward to some bright days ahead. I do want to quote Dr. Orge. He said this: "We are here to facilitate the work of the Southern Baptists and to manage and minimize the administrative process. It is our job to do our work quietly and efficiently so we can be on the real work, which is winning souls for Jesus Christ." And I appreciated the spirit in which he has taken this post, and we need to pray for him, and we need to pray for Clint Presley, and we need to pray for all of our entities as well as for all of our commissions and boards. There was a lot of encouraging news, a lot of areas of commissioning new missionaries, of seeing baptisms on the rise. Certainly, there are some serious realities that I think God has placed people and put in places to be able to manage those. We're not a perfect convention or of churches, but I think our future is bright. I left Indianapolis feeling encouraged, and I believe scriptural integrity of the office of pastor and from a complementarian aspect is not in danger of being eroded. I think it still has to be watched and be in careful attention, but I believe certainly our churches are the autonomous body of that. And I want to remind you, we're not a top-down convention of churches as other denominations may be. We are a bottom-up. And I think we have leadership in place that realize that and are going to be working toward that end. Listen, this is probably a little longer than I really intended it to be, but at the same time, there was a lot of information, and I just simply wanted to give you a quick snapshot. Let me end by saying this: anytime and always, if you have questions, concerns, or want further information, reach out. I'd be happy to talk with you. God bless.